What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So I got the question the other day, are the banks screwed or are the American people the ones that are going to be screwed? Well, let's address that, because as of right now, what is going on is going to impact the US economy. It's going to impact us forever. We will forever be changed. Now, here's what I can tell you. It is projected that banks here in the United States have more than $600 billion in unrealized losses on their balance sheets. Now, even though these are not counted as losses yet because they haven't technically sold them, again, they're unrealized losses, many worry that when this time comes and the banks have to sell, the banks are going to need to sell all at the same time or very close to it, which is going to cause a financial collapse. Again, if this happens, experts worry this is going to trigger a full-on economic collapse. Again, and I hate to say this, but the warning signs are there. This is something that we need to worry about. Now, you might not care about the banks, and why would you, right? They've been screwing you forever. So why would you care about the banks? Because you're probably thinking, well, it's about time that they get what's coming to them. Here's what I can tell you. When the American people suffer, the federal government is not going to do much. Yeah, they might send you, kick over a stimulus check. It's not going to happen in 2023 or in 2024. Stimulus is pretty much done. But when it comes to banks, if a bank fails, then the federal government might step in and prevent a failure. They don't want to see a collapse. Now, how could this really impact you in your wallet? How could a bank potentially collapsing impact you? Well, I will get to that in just a moment. But first, all I ask is if you can do me a favor, go ahead, hit that like button. If you are ready to see the U.S. economy flourish again, because again, we have been in this kind of downward trend for about 2 years. And I personally, I'm tired of it. But here's what we know. As of right now, banks are not able to make money the way that they used to make money. Banks were used to making money through lending. People would come in, they'd get $100,000 to buy a house. I know $100,000 is pretty low, but let's say they get $300,000. They get $300,000 to buy a house, and every time they make a payment, right, the bank makes a little bit of money. Great. Well, the fact that lending has pretty much fallen off a cliff is what is causing a lot of these problems. People are pulling money from the banks. People are not going into the banks to go and get a loan, right? You don't want to put your money into CDs. You don't want to put your money into the banks. People keep their money in, under their mattress in a pillowcase. I talked to somebody just the other day where he's pulling all of his money out of the bank. Okay? He has about $2 million in the bank in different accounts. He's going to pull all of it out. Why? Because he doesn't trust the banks. That's why. Just to give you an idea, home refinances are down about 56% since last year. Mortgage demand is also down, and it actually dropped 10% from last week. Then you throw in auto loans. Auto loans are crashing. But it's not just that a lot of people are not coming to get these loans. It's also they're not able to make the payments, because we're also seeing an increase in loan defaults as well. This is from mortgages, this is from personal loans, this is for credit cards, this is for auto loans, everything. People are struggling because the people don't have the money either. Guess what? If the people don't have the money to put into the bank to make payments, to do all the things that banks need for the bank to make money, guess what? The banks are going to be screwed. Now, here's what we do know. According to the U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, she said that she believes that the Federal Reserve doesn't need to raise rates anymore, that we can just pause. Because if we can just pause instead of raising rates, what we can then do is tighten lending. Tightening lending is the way to go, according to the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. But there's a problem with that. And here's the problem. When we tighten lending, which essentially is just tightening credit, okay? So your credit card, instead of having $10,000 as a limit, you get $5,000, right? Instead of being able to borrow up to $500,000 because of your past history and your income, well, now the bank says you can borrow $300,000, right? This impacts our entire economy. Just think about it. If a person that bought a house, 25 years ago for $200,000, right? Nice house, $200,000. Now it's worth, let's say, $1.5 million. Okay, they didn't pay $1.5 million for it. They paid $200,000 for it. They've been in it for 20 some years. That's how they got to where they are now. Guess what? What if they're ready to retire? What if they're ready to sell off that house? They're going to buy something smaller, then they can afford to pay for their just the cost of living, right? Maybe they want to retire. They don't work, whatever. Well, if they can't sell that house because there's nobody out there to buy it for $1.5 million because, number one, they can't get a loan for it, what do you think happens then? Well, that person's going to struggle if they can't sell their house and they need the money. Yeah, the bank's going to struggle because the bank, they want you to sell that house, right? They want somebody to get in on a $1.5 million loan. They're going to make a lot more money there than they would if you're still making payments on a $200,000 loan. Okay, banks aren't making money. So limiting credit is a way that they are minimizing their risk. But again, this impacts us all because, like I said, if a bank says, no, you don't qualify for $500,000, you only qualify for $200,000, but you're trying to buy $1 million home, that's going to be very difficult because then you obviously got to put up the other, $800,000, right? This is going to destroy people. It's going to destroy businesses. Just think about manufacturing is going to slow down. If a business doesn't have the amount of credit that they had before, and they can't go and extend their credit line, or they can't go and pull money to buy a new machine to speed up manufacturing. They can't go buy another truck to speed up deliveries. Deliveries might not even happen in certain areas because, again, they might not have the capacity to do it. We know hiring's going to completely stop, and you can pretty much say goodbye to new products that are still in the development stages. So the reason I say banks are screwed is because of what we are seeing. Banks are telling us that, and they're telling us everything's fine, that they're projecting that, they projected this and they knew this was going to happen. But then they come out and say that rates are causing a lot of their stress, causing a lot less lending, which again is how a bank makes money. So when a bank says that they are hurting because they can't make as much money as they're used to, but at the same time people still want their money, well, this is crippling them. We also know some CEOs are also preparing for a recession, which a recession usually means less lending, more unemployment, right? People keep more money on hand. They're making less money. That's probably a pretty bad sign for a bank, is a recession. Okay? So what I am hearing is that banks are worried, but you probably heard this before. The bank says, don't worry, you'll be fine. Don't worry, everything's okay. The banks are worried, but they're telling you not to worry. Why? Because they don't want the American people to worry and panic. Because if you panic, it's going to turn into chaos for the bank. That's what we know. Again, what's happening right now with the banks is causing a lot of concern because, again, the U.S. economy will be forever changed as we see these banks start to collapse. And again, according to experts, they believe that more banks are going to collapse. Even billionaire investor, smart guy Warren Buffett believes this banking crisis is not over, but he does say your money should be safe. So that's what we know at this time. But as always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share all the latest news and updates. Again, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing. I'll see you guys on the next one.